How to become a torpedo? The story of the Abelisaurus hen. We think of late Cretaceous dinosaurs. We usually think of a Tyrannosaurus, Raptor, Hadrosaurus, or Ceratops. The other groups are forgotten, most often due to their unpopularity. And in vain among them there were bold experiments too. For example, the Abelisaurus. Abelisauridae is a family of predatory dinosaurs. You cannot call them large. The bulk of these lizards were small dinosaurs growing from 1 to 2 meters in height. For example, Kilmasaurus reached a height of only 170 centimeters, and such a famous dinosaur as Rugops, in general, was half a giant. The largest Abelisaurus, Carnotaurus and Pycnonomosaurus, grew to a respectable 3 meters in height. Nevertheless, the large size of the Abelisaurids was not particularly necessary. When comparing the structure of Abelisaurids and any other theropod dinosaur, we can notice several interesting features. First, their muzzle was short, blunt, and streamlined. Second, there were small protrusions above the eye sockets, like spoilers on modern cars. Third, their hind limbs were very well developed, and their bodies were streamlined. All this in aggregate turned Abelisaurids into a kind of torpedo on legs capable of running long distances with a very high speed for dinosaurs. For example, the maximum speed of Carnotaurus was 56 km/h. Philip Currie, in his 2011 work, even called it the speed demon of the dinosaurs. At such speeds, a large carcass will be a hindrance, it will be less maneuverable, and the large weight, even taking into account the lightened skeleton, will threaten not only a decrease in speed, but an increase in injuries when falling. To achieve such speeds, Abelisaurids made a major sacrifice. They essentially lost their front limbs. If some Tyrannosaurus could still somehow scratch itself, or its partner's sides with its paws, the Abelisauridae were deprived of this, their arms turned into some kind of sticks. Seriously, all known forelimbs of this group are disproportionately short, and some fingers even consist of a single phalanx. It is worth noting that the oldest, at the moment, Abelisaurus, Eoabelisaurus, still had some kind of limbs, similar to the stumps of late tyrannosaurs. Speaking of Eoabelisaurus, this dinosaur lived in the middle of the Jurassic period, about 170 to 163 million years ago on the territory of Argentina. The later Abelisaurus had already spread all over the southern hemisphere, but there is one small problem. The only link between Eoabelisaurus and the later members of the family is the spectrogenitor. Spectogenitor lived in the early Cretaceous 125 million years ago, meaning there is a gap of nearly 40 million years between Jurassic and Cretaceous Abelisaurids. This means that paleontologists still face the task of finding many transitional forms that lived in South America. Only another problem arises: all of the Abelisaur fossils are incomplete. Even so, well-preserved Spectrovenator, Carnotaurus, Majungasaurus and Scorpiovenator are missing some parts of the limbs or spine. The bulk of the Abelisaurids is known from the bones of the hind limbs and pelvic girdle, skulls and vertebrae. Abelisauridae have been divided into several populations: South American, Indo-European, and African. Two representatives, Dahalopili and Majungasaurus, have been found in Madagascar. The Indo-European Aryan population was represented by small carnivores, the largest of which was the 10-meter-long Rajasaurus. The African group was represented by rather primitive species Rugops and Cryptops, and the latter may be a chimera at all. But the South American population was the largest, the most developed, and the most famous, because they include Carnotaurus and Abelisaurus. The speedy Abelisaurus could only be apex predators in regions where there were no other large predators. For example, Carnotaurus inhabited an area with other Abelisaurids and an obscure theropod. The material of this lizard is not described, as did Pycnonomosaurus. In zones dominated by Carcharodontosaurs, Abelisaurids became medium-sized predators that did not reach even 2 meters.